Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you're at. You're tuning in today. This is the Art of Learning Self-Love. I'm Darla Williams, and we're here today about on day 2 or week 2 in your Veda on the subject with the Art of Learning Self-Love. And today's title is Positive Shifting. We were talking just a little bit before I jumped on to the recording, and the subject matter that had come up is in regards to that shift, where realizing where I've come from to where I am today. I am in temporarily right now in transit from one home to another, into hotels, back and forth, and everywhere else I could possibly be right now because I've traveled to another state for a wedding. So I'm with family and with friends and with other things. But what I've really had the opportunity to have is a front row seat to where I came from. When today's subject matter is positive shifting, I am improving every day is our affirmation. I'm improving every day. That statement alone literally can shift your life and literally take the entire life that you've ever had and given you the opportunity that you could be looking, and it feels like you're looking through a telescope to something so distant and so far. I truly had forgotten because I had done so much work on myself. I really did the internal work. I did the shadow work. I did the mirror work. I spent the time with myself. I felt every emotion. I did everything I needed to do for me so that I could get to the place where I am today. And I have to say, having a front row seat to the place that I was once, sitting on that curb, not certain where my meal was going to come from, not knowing what was available, not understanding that our birthright is abundance, that we're whole and complete. When I was broken, left in my ruins, trying to figure it out, and now I'm sitting here and actually able to come back to a space that I'm standing with others that haven't decided to make changes, that haven't decided. And that's the whole key, making the decision. And I'm sitting here going, it's so easy. But are we really getting with the people who have made the decisions or made the shifts? How are we going to get in that place of positive shifting? You know, today's subject of the class itself just is happenstance. That is the exact thing that I'm seeing is that positive shift. And I'm actually living the front row seat to how much I've personally shifted, you know, from the before to who I am. And who knows what it's going to be later in the after. You know, we don't have any idea. But if it's up to me, I hope that I've made an impact that affected the whole world, because I know that it changed me. The art of learning self-love is truly about reaching within ourselves. Love doesn't come from outside of us, it comes from within and is deposited into us. But no one has taken the time to teach us that. And that's what I decided I needed to teach. You know, if you're a Christian, you know that Christ said to love one another, and what is going to happen? You know, that it is going to be reciprocated, it's going to be returned. It was pressed down and overflowing to whatever, you know, there was a degree that Christ said when he was on the earth that if we love first, nothing else is going to create any harm. So it automatically brings us into a perfect alignment. So if we're in perfect alignment, then, and we're coming from a heart space of love, well, we're not going to go kill, we're not going to go destroy, we're not going to create mayhem. We're going to come from an authentic space of love. It was so easy, but we make it so difficult. We think things that separate us from our truth. We forget. Heck, we were born with amnesia, I think. Here's a whole perfect plan. We've got the story. We got to go out there and do it. Miss Jane here, she's a wonderful facilitator here, and she talks about astrology. Our lives are written in the stars. So you could run to Jane and be like, okay, what's going on with my life? And she's going to be able to say, oh, okay, here, this is where you're at. This is the house it's in, and this is why it's affecting you this way. But we don't always know our resources. You can raise a child in the woods and they're going to know the woods. You can raise a child in the most prestigious schools of education and they're going to know books. It depends on what we're around. But no matter where you're at, no matter what's going on, it doesn't matter whether or not you're sitting at the bottom, waiting at the curb, hoping somebody will pass by and have compassion because you have no ability, because you've been so broken that you don't even know where to begin. When you're sitting in the ruins, hoping that meal will come by, hoping that somebody will pay attention. Or if you're at the top and you have it all, sometimes you're still empty inside. And it's because we haven't come into understanding that love is the key. How do we begin to transform and rearrange our life? We begin within. The story isn't about, oh, so-and-so did it, or so-and-so has done it. It's about, what are you willing to do for yourself? Are you worth it to you? And if you're not, what is blocking you from that understanding that you should be worth it? What happened that made you feel like last week's subject, unworthy? We're unworthy or worthy of love was our topic. But with most people, the reason I covered that was because most people in the world are feeling unworthy because of the situations that they've been exposed to. But how do we pull ourselves through that? You know, we have to start somewhere. And it's literally I am improving every day. I can't change the world overnight. But every single day of my life can make a change to my world, which will ripple out and affect the world around me in time. If I change 1% of my life every single day, 365 days later, I have improved by 365% by choosing 1% a day. Now, 1% is nothing. That took 5 seconds. Oh, I need to make a phone call. I made the phone call. You know, oh, hey, I need to book that class. Oh, I booked that class. It's really not difficult when we really tune in. It's difficult because we don't know. And when we don't know, the unknown literally shuts us down. Because because fear of the unseen, of the unknown. It's like when you're a little kid and you open your back door and they say, oh, go out there, it's in the middle of the yard. And you open the back door and you're like looking both ways going, it's dark out here. Let me run out into the dark and get it. You don't know what's around you. So your brain creates things that may or may not be there, depending on your circumstance around you. If you come from a happy, healthy environment, you probably think, oh, those trees, it's scary under the tree. But if you come from a home that had brokenness, you might be, oh no, somebody might be there that's going to hurt me. It depends on what you've been through and where you come from. But no matter where you've come from, you can make the decision to change it. And you can change it a little bit and improve it a little bit more each and every day. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up today's assignment as well. The assignment of the day would be write out 3 positive statements about yourself. The reason I chose 3 positive is because 3 is the number that cancels out 1. If I get 1 negative comment in the day, I could have had a perfect, happy, wonderful morning, and somebody could have come and said 1 negative thing, and all of a sudden, all that positive was wiped out. Gone in a whole instant. All because somebody else came in and spilt my coffee. Dang it, they messed it all up. Now, I have a mess. Now I have this. Now I have, and I can get myself in that mood and don't know how to get myself back out. But what I learned is if I choose three, three has a power. Why? The divine feminine, the divine masculine, and the divine inner child, the three in one. The Holy Spirit, God the Father, God the Son, and the Holy Spirit, the three in one. The mind, the body, and the soul, the three in one. There's a triune being within everything. Everything has the three components. In a relationship, if you want a relationship to last, you have to look at three components. You have to have good communication, great sexuality, and finances. You can live and exist off of two. In that, you can sometimes even do it off of one if you've got a lot of patience. If you don't have any of those in a relationship, you don't got a relationship, you got fighting, you got toxicity. So just as with all of it, if we're not blending the triune of it and finding a way to work within it, we're going to literally separate ourselves from it. So it doesn't matter whether or not you believe in the body, the mind, and the spirit. You know that scientifically everything comes together and there's a perfect way that it works through quantum and physiology, or whether or not you are dead set in regards to a religious aspect and you want to live by a religious means and you want to serve your God with all of your heart, then you're going to do it 100%. Just like somebody else who's serving it through the spirit and the mind and the body. Just like those who are going to the church and sitting in the pew and celebrating the death that gave them life. Whether or not it's the ripple effect, if something was thrown out into the pond, it continues on to affect the world around us. The one thing that I've learned that needed to get out of my way was stop and accept anybody for where they were at. I got rid of judgment. Judgment is one of the one things that separate us all. I love everyone unconditionally. Now, if I have to put them in a safe place in a different area where I can't be around because it's hurting me, I have to create boundaries and space. And it's okay for us to do that. It may not be understood by everyone because they might not be well enough to understand it, but our boundaries are worth it. But how do we begin even getting there if we don't even have the three positives to bring us back from the negative? So if somebody came in and told me, Darla, I hate you today because whatever, and it happens. It happens. There's days I upset people and they come and tell me they're mad. Normally it comes because I had a boundary and I wouldn't let them cross it. And that's generally the reason. And I'm still in that space of love and they're not understanding. So they're spiraling and I have to just be patient while they figure it out. But sometimes it also triggers. And sometimes we get caught up in the moment and say the things we wish we never said. It's like a tube of toothpaste. You squeeze that stuff out, all of a sudden it's all over the place and you can't stuff it back in the tube. You wish you could. But those negative things come along and they hit us constantly. And they hurt us. And when we're hurt, we sometimes act out and lash out. And what I learned is if every time something negative came to me, if I would go in the bathroom and tell myself three positives, I could reset me and let them be them. Because I knew I was only in charge of myself. Control is an illusion, and most of us think we're controlling our life. Well, there's a bigger source. There's God, there's source, there's universe. There's something bigger than us, and it's already divine, designed for all of us. We're just showing up and doing exactly what is our purpose and our plans. And we're walking it out in perfect symphony. We're always on time, every time, right wherever we're at. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that. That's when the negativity's around. Or we're out of sync with ourselves. Not anybody else. Ourselves. And when we can turn within, we can totally change the dynamics of everything. And that's what I absolutely love about what I do, is I help people understand that. I'm helping you identify what it is. So this week, I want Russell, if you can for a second, Have you had anything that has been negative that has hit you this week? You don't have to go into the details, but a yes or no.
Yes.
Okay, and Jane, here you are in life. I mean, we all have things that come along. And I know for myself personally. Now, the cool part is they don't have to entertain those thoughts. I don't have to give it more life. But here we were in our moments. We all had one. So I want you to take that same principle, whatever that subject matter is, and I want you to speak 3 positive statements into that space in your life. So for myself personally, mine was lack of communication and being stranded in a situation for a couple days. It was very uncomfortable, but no, it wasn't intentional. There was just miscommunication. So out of that, and being it was just miscommunication, I could have stayed angry. I could have. And we all have a right to our feelings. But what would it have served me? And instead, it doesn't matter. What happened is it's water under the bridge. And I could say, you know what? At least I'm here now. We've got it resolved. We get to have fun now. So my 3 positive statements is I chose to live in the moment and where I'm at now instead of living in what I had experienced. Taking it upon myself to shift me so that I could be in the moment instead of falling apart anymore. No one else can come in and fix it. We can all wait for that knight in shining armor or that perfect that perfect person to come in with the great support that wants to do it all for us, but it never really happens. The one that has to stand up, rise up to it, and begin doing it is ourselves. So Jane, what would be your 3 sentences? If you could speak into your life in those places to lift you from the experience and bring you to another side.
Yeah, 3 sentences. Well, I'll share with you the 3 sentences that I used. One was, how did I say it to myself? Let's see. Just trust what's happening. Just trust it.
Perfect.
The other was, you won't have answers today, but you probably will tomorrow. And doesn't that feel good? And the third is, don't judge. It's a waste of time. Just look forward to what you can look forward to. It doesn't have to be your way. You know.
Thank you. And Russell, if you could speak 3 positive sentences into that experience, what would you speak?
That number 1, excuse me. I don't have to beat myself up.
Perfect. Yes.
And number 2, as you mentioned, we're not in control. There's a greater force at work, and that the universe will provide if we allow it. And the third would be, not to beat myself up.
Perfect. Perfect.
I like that.
I do too. Now I want you to take a second, Russell, and I want you to think about what happened and how you felt during whatever happened. Because like I said, we're not going to have to talk about it, but you feel it, you know your story. And I want you to just sort of feel into that moment for a second. And think about it where it was and how low that made you feel, how it takes you on that spiral of energy and brings you down here. Now I want you to think about those 3 sentences that you just spoke. And I want you to tell me on that grid, where are you now? Between where you felt and what you just spoke into yourself.
I think I have risen above it. I have manifested a heartfelt understanding of and clarity of where I am and relative to where somebody would like me to be, and be that knight in shining armor. And I think that I will come into that role when in the proper divine time.
And Jane, when you were thinking about whatever your circumstance was, and then you spoke your sentences, how did that shift you?
Oh, it was enormous. I mean, I literally went from sad to exuberant.
Exactly. That
Yeah.
is the part there. This is what I want people to understand. One negative can make us literally can ruin us for a long time. One moment can ruin us for a long time. But it depends on how we choose to deal with it. Do we choose to clothe ourselves in it and put ourselves in a point where that is all the context that we want to speak about? That it was this and they did this and that happened and this is why and blah, blah. And literally talk it to death to the point where we literally live in the misery of it? Or do we want to choose to go, okay, yeah, that sucked. It really hurt. And I learned from it. This is what I learned. I'm not going to leave myself vulnerable, or I'm going to protect myself more, or I'm going to put in this boundary, or I'm going to say no when I need to say no, or I'm going to say yes when I need to say yes, or I'm going to, from that heart space, when we get truly into that space and change the dynamics of it. But generally, before we learn those tools and those steps, we're all bumbling through it exactly the same way, concerned about what everyone else thinks and completely sacrificing ourselves. So how do we bring ourselves back into that space and realize for anything else in our world to come together, really truly begins within us. And the only thing we can control in this world is us. When I take control of my emotions, when I take control of my circumstance, when I take control of my experience, when I take control of what I allow in my life, then everything else seems to come together and everybody goes, why are you so lucky? You're so lucky, darling. I'm like, it's not luck. I did the work and I can show you how so that you can do it too. Because I'm willing to share those details and those tools because I think you're worth it. Because I finally learned that about myself. And that became my passion to help everyone else. Because if I can come through it, I'm telling you now, I know if I can come through it, so can you. That there is nothing that separates us from it except a belief. What we believe is what we bring. What we think about is what we bring about. We are truly the directors of our own life. Sometimes we give the power to so many others. I want you to take the key of you in your life and put it back in your pocket and know that you're capable. Love is the master key to our success. And if love is the master key to our success, then it's not supposed to be in anyone else's hands. God didn't have time to make a nobody. He only had times to make somebodies. We certainly are those somebodies. And that's our truth. But are we living it? Most of us aren't. And that's why I chose to do what I do, because I want to help people learn how that can be possible for them too. I don't know whether or not we need to do a breathing technique today or sound therapy, or if we need to do a fountain healing. With the fact that all three of us has had something this week, any of those would be great tools today to bring us through. So I guess I'm asking, would you guys be interested in trying something new with some sounds? She says yes. And Russell, what about you? Yeah?
Always open for something new, Darla.
Okay. Well, our chakra system, the light up system within us that brings us into alignment or balance, requires opening, requires a balance within us. And a lot of times, if we get out of balance between all of those places, what's going to happen? Everything else in our world is going to get upset, like the tea kettle at its max. It's going to be loud and it's going to be obnoxious. Things are going to start coming out of alignment, and arguments are going to happen. Life is going to get in discord. So how do we get it back into balance? It's through our chakra system. So if our crown, which is just above our head, is the source that goes from above and brings us to that connection to below. So when we choose to open that or choose to come into alignment where that can come through, we have sounds that allow us to open that. Those sounds that go with it is for the crown and the third eye is the sound of AUM. Now, we can truly open this space for us and bring it back into calibrate it just by the sound. So I want you to really get into it, and I want you to breathe in deep through your nose. And as you do, I want you to just say, breathe in again. And breathe in one more time. We're going to go ahead and drop that down into the third eye now. And the same sound is used for the third eye. So we're going to do it 3 times. Like I said, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, the triune being, the inner child, the divine feminine, divine masculine, the body, the soul, and the spirit, all 3. So we're going to do every one of these sounds 3 times, because I want us to really activate ourselves by the power of 3. So bringing in again the deep breath in, and we're doing the and I want you to think right between your brows and all the way in the center of your brain. Deep breath in. Deep breath in. I'm going to go ahead and bring this down now, and we're going to go into the throat. The throat, though, does have a different sound, and that sound is yum. Y-U-M, yum. So we're going to go in and we're going to breathe in again the 3 times in deep in through the nose. Yum. Deep breath in. Yum. Deep breath in. Yum. So we're going to bring that down now. We're going to go straight down into the solar plex. And the solar plex is right at the belly. This is where we get hung up in patterns, where we get stuck, where we get a lot of tension. So this might be hard to do at first, but we're going to be doing rum, like a bottle of rum. We're going to make the sound of rum in this place. So we're going to be opening that chakra with a deep breath in. We're going to go rum. Deep breath in. Rum. Deep breath in. Rum. And dropping it down now into the sacral, which is just around about 3 to 4 fingers down from the belly button for males, 2 to 3 for females from the navel is going to be the sacral. This is where we get into the addictions, repeating the same patterns over and over, or doing the same thing without any change. So let's break up that space within us and bring us back to balance so that we can recalibrate. So in this place, this is going to be VUM. VUM is the sound, like a van, but with a U. So VUM. And we're gonna just same thing 3 times, in through the nose and VUM. In through the nose. In through the nose. Now we're going to go ahead and drop down into the root, the very root of our being, the space where we're whole and complete from the foundations of creation, that nothing can separate us from our truth. That space, that who we truly are and where we should be resonating from, regardless of the storylines. So I want you to go ahead. This one here is L-U-M-M, like lum. You got an extra M at the end. So it's the L-U-M-M, lum. And we're going to go ahead. This is the root. So we're going to deep breathe all the way in, which is just near the kissing the tailbone with our breath. Bringing it in and lum. And again through the nose. And one more in, deep through the breath, through your nose. Love. And then a deep breath in through your mouth. And exhale out the mouth. I want you to just tune into who you are, where you're at, and what you're doing today, where you've come from and where you're going for the rest of the day. You can choose at any minute to positively shift and go forward. It's choosing to let go and move forward. And our affirmation of the day is I am improving every day. And if every morning and every evening I think that I'm improving every day is just going to get better. Doesn't have to be big, but one small little shift every day can change the rest of your life for the better. Are you choosing you? Did anyone need to say anything or want to speak into the class? We have a couple minutes.
That was wonderful, Darla. I have another power of three to mention to you.
Okay.
As you know, we use a system based on 10 for all our math and our life, our figuring. That's really a base 10 system. It is said that other worlds use other systems, and specifically a world that uses a base 3 allows pi to be an even number, a round number. Another very, very interesting power of 3.
Awesome. I did not know that. I'm gonna have to look a little bit more into that. That's gonna be an interesting study.
There are beings that have 3 fingers as a result, and our 10 fingers very likely helped create our system.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna have to do some. So we got the Arcturians, the Palladians, and the Rhoatia, I think are the 3.
There's life abounds everywhere. There's an infinite number. You have chosen 3 of an infinite number.
Like, I think there's those 3. I know about those 3. I've had my own personal experiences with different parts of that stuff, so that I'm expanding in a lot of different areas. But this is beautiful. Beautiful today. Thank you for giving me that information. I'm going to study a little bit more. What about you, Jane? How was the class for you? Was that
Oh, just I'm just dwelling. I'm just dwelling in it all. And yeah, I'm really kind of glad that it is Thanksgiving week, because yeah, I'm feeling extra grateful. And so yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling a lot of words. I'm just feeling a lot of good, a lot of ease, relax,
beautiful?
excitement. It's kind of interesting, I guess, to be relaxed and excited all in the same, but it's true for me.
Mhm. Oh, talking about the excitement versus when we were talking at the beginning of class, we were talking about the unknown and how unknown causes fear. And fear, is a major feeling, and creates a lot of anxiety for people. And I want to just touch base on that, because with her talking about the excitement, I had to come into realizing at one point, and this is something I want you to realize, that the same hormones in your body ignite and go throughout your system is if you are in fear or if you're in excitement. So when you get yourself in a moment, you get your head caught up in those thoughts of fear, just turn it around and just tell yourself, I'm not scared, I'm just excited. Take that same feeling that's going on in your body and turn it to life instead of death. Because when we get too fearful and we get too much, what are we doing? We're dying to our dreams. We're dying to our circumstance. We're dying
Mm.
to the situation because we're literally freezing up and stopping the time and the trajectory of where we're going. So instead of
Mhm.
creating that, can then turn it to the excitement of it. So we want to get up and go do it instead. Just a simple shift from
Beautiful.
one to the other.
Mm,
So
so nice. Yeah.
That's why you're the poster child.
There she is.
that's so funny. That is
Oh,
hilarious. You know
that's
what?
good,
I
Russell.
really do love my life and I love bringing this to everyone. It is absolute fun for me.
You know, if you, I can't help but think about there are, as we know, maybe we've even said the words like so many people do that, oh, technology is going to ruin us, right? Technology is this, that, and the other thing. You know, it's going to be bad, and our kids spend too much time, and so on and so on. But look at what technology has given us today, right?
I have more connection with the world around the world in
Mm-hmm.
an instant with a push of a finger, a push of a
Yeah.
button,
Yeah.
and the opportunity to make connections that are going to last me a lifetime,
Yeah. Exactly.
all through technology.
Right. Can you imagine if our parents and grandparents had this? How it would have changed their lives?
Oh, wow. Yeah. But we also have to look at it this way. We're exactly where we're supposed to be in the timeline. So
Absolutely.
now it's finally happening because it's exactly on time. So
Oh, yeah,
our
no doubt
our
about it.
family wouldn't have been able to experience it the way that we are because they wouldn't have been equipped. They had to go through their experiences that lined us up so that we could climb into ourselves and go, oh, well, this is the passing down of all the knowledge to the generations. And now we can take it to the next level for the next one. So we're just
Yeah,
showing up right on time to continue it and build it and create the next level of it.
right. You know, I can remember, oh, about 30, 33, 34 years ago, my kids, three sons, they all played hockey. And we used to get together with all the hockey families and travel, right? And one of the dads was the editor of the local Albany paper. And uh, and he said to us one day, we were just, hanging out. He said, "You know that someday you're going to get your news off a screen?" And he goes, "And it's not going to be a television screen." He said, "It's going to be something you hold in your hand. It's going to be something that, I don't know." He said, "Maybe it'll even appear on, part of your refrigerator or whatever, but
That is
um,
that is so great.
it was. I mean, like back then, let's see, there weren't cell phones. This would have been in 2000, 2010. Yeah, so it would have been in like 80, 89,
Okay.
1989,
I I used to pretend as a little girl and go. My parents used to take me to the laundromat all the time. I guess we had to do laundry a lot. And it was like the place for me. Like, I don't know. I have like lots of little stories about the laundromat when I was a little girl. I would go, and that was like my arena. That was my place where I could see people. That
Yeah.
was like my thing. I love people. So it was a busy place. There was people everywhere. And I can remember being a little girl, you know, passing out little papers and telling people they want to hold it. And I'd just scribble on it. I was too young to actually write my name. I was scribbling on little pieces of paper. And I would tell these people to hold on to that piece of paper because one day I was going to be famous. I was a little girl.
You
Kids
told me that.
generally have these cute little stories, but these little stories really mean something because kids have a deeper understanding of who they really are. They're still connected to themselves. They still know. So sometimes things get in the way of that and they get lost along it and forget what they're supposed to be doing. And then they come back to it, and others just completely forget. And my job is to hopefully one day help everyone find it again and get back in touch with that so we can live from our truth and our inner child space and actually become all we're supposed to do. But the purpose of that is when I was in the laundromat, when you were talking about him telling you about that space, you know, that he knew that there was going to be something you could hold in your hand. I used to sit there and pretend that I had this circle thing, a little like round to it almost is what it was. If you know what a round to it is, just
Hmm.
aged myself. So I would have that little circle and carry that thing around, and I would pretend that it would allow me to have all these characters and all this stuff coming to life up out of the circle. And I could see them with my imagination, and I would be like, you know, there will be images that just pop up out of stuff and they'll just be there. You can actually have them they'll have meetings everywhere and people will just show up, but it'll just be an image of them. And everyone thought I was losing it. And then holograms came out. And this was
Hmm.
my imagination as a child. We can all tune into that power. That is the universal consciousness stream of life.
Hmm.
We all have the ability to tune into that. So knowledge is there. And that is why when we're going along and we're teaching something, do you know, I've noticed there's a lot of resentment with others. They're like, oh no, so-and-so's using my stuff. Someone's trying to do what I'm doing, da 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 da, in this arena when it comes to sharing our stories. Well, if we've all had similar experiences, we're all experiencing the same things. Why? Because we're all in that stream of consciousness. The difference is it doesn't matter if anyone else is teaching the exact same thing. Russell's a Russell, Jane's a Jane, and Darla's a Darla. We all have our own unique way of bringing it. So get in your own lane, look at what you're doing, and keep doing it with your own heart, with all of it, because somebody needs what you're speaking just as much as what I'm doing. And just tune into yourself. I'm going to go ahead and hit stop the recording.